Hedonism, in its most commonly accepted definition, is the pursuit of pleasure or excessive physical indulgence. Now, if you've seen any of my past videos, you should know that this sounds like a bad idea, right? But what if I told you that hedonism can actually teach us a lot about how we choose to go about our lives? And I don't just mean this in the sense that hedonism teaches us not to be hedonists. No, I think it's more that hedonism is misunderstood. So that's what I want to cover today. I'm going to distinguish philosophical hedonism from the commonly accepted definition of hedonism. And then I'm going to give a few tips that are not only science-backed, but have also helped me to be just a little bit happier. So, like I said, the commonly accepted definition of hedonism is the pursuit of physical pleasure, the pursuit of things that make us feel good, and the belief that chasing after these things will lead to a good life. Now, if you've lived your life at all, you know that that's not really how it works. You cannot build a truly fulfilling life simply by chasing after physical pleasure. Philosophical hedonism, on the other hand, simply states that the life that has the most happiness is the best life possible. Essentially, philosophical hedonism says that happiness is the number one most important thing in our lives, and nothing else is as important. And it says that the reason we do things is because we want to be happy. You want to get a good job so you can make money, so you can buy things. You want to buy things so you can be happy. And this allows for two key differences between the commonly accepted definition of hedonism and the philosophical definition. So, first of all, philosophical hedonism does not say that we have to chase after pleasure to maximize it. It simply says that the most pleasure possible is the best life possible. The most happiness equals the best life. And so this allows us to include long-term and short-term happiness. So what this allows us to do is we can sacrifice our short-term happiness so then in the long run we have more happiness. So we can put ourselves through temporary pain to improve our lives in the long run with philosophical hedonism. The second key difference is that there's more than just physical pleasure in philosophical hedonism. In fact, there are three different kinds of pleasure in this philosophical definition. So, firstly, you have physical, like I already said. That is anything that you can just feel, anything that feels good. This could be having a bite of cake, or physical touch, or anything along the lines of that. The second is emotional pleasure and pain. And emotional pleasure and pain kind of consists of anything that is a shallow emotion that you cannot necessarily describe with one of the five senses. So this could be the feeling you get when you read a book or when you listen to music. You can't necessarily say, like, music feels good. You can, obviously, hearing is a sense. You can hear music, but it's not the same concrete feeling of, like, having a bite of cake or something like that. Now, the third type of pleasure and pain that I'm going to call complex pleasure is essentially a step beyond emotional pleasure and pain. This could be the feeling you get when you overcome a difficult goal, or you form deeper connections in relationships, or anything that kind of gives you this deeper sense of meaning in life. And looking back at these two differences, especially the first one, if you know me, you know I can actually get behind this. Because not only are we sacrificing our short-term happiness to maximize our long-term, and not only is that going to help us achieve a deeper state of happiness, a deeper state of fulfillment, but also doing things that are painful, whether that be physically or mentally, doing things that you don't want to do, makes it so that you can appreciate the little things in life a little bit more. And this leads me to my first tip on how to live a happier life. It revolves around this thing called hedonic adaptation, which it sounds fancy, but essentially it just means that we get used to things. Things that bring us pleasure. Eventually, the more and more we experience those things, we'll get used to them, and they will no longer bring us as much, if any, pleasure at all. And this works the other way around as well. The more we experience something painful, the more we can adapt to that, and the less painful it will become over time. So, essentially, what this means is that to maximize your happiness in life, you cannot experience only happiness. Because the more you experience pleasurable things, the more you'll get used to them. So what we have to do to counteract that hedonic adaptation, to counteract that sense of getting used to pleasurable things, is we have to willingly put ourselves through painful things, things that we don't enjoy doing, so we can end up appreciating the pleasurable things more in the long run. And sure, this isn't the ideal scenario, but there's no way around it. You have to do things that you don't want to do, things that you just do not enjoy doing whatsoever, things that you hate doing, for short periods of time to maximize your happiness. There's no way around it. And building off of this, I also think that this tip is sort of a call to create variance in your life. You can't just experience the same pleasures and the same pains over and over and over again. You have to go out and experiment with different hobbies or different activities or different people, so you won't get used to just the same thing. And this is why you always hear people saying, oh, I want to travel the world, for example. Sure, it'd be nice to be at the beach 24/7, but even if that's nice, it's not going to feel nearly as nice as you're at the beach, and then you're in the mountains, and you're going all these different places and experiencing all these different kinds of pleasure. So that's tip number one. You have to put yourself through pain to amplify the experience of pleasure, and you have to switch your pleasures and pains up in life so you don't get bored of them. My second tip to maximizing your happiness is that you have to go out and do things in life to help other people. And I don't just mean this because you will sure feel more satisfied with yourself when you can confidently say that you make the world around you a better place. Obviously, that feels great. On top of that, though, there are actually scientific studies that show that doing things for other people actually increases your happiness more in some cases than doing things for yourself. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I remember of this scientific study. This is close to what this scientific study did. Essentially, these researchers took a group of kids on a college campus, and to each one, they offered $20. And then they said, okay, now with this $20, you can either buy yourself something, or you can go out and give this $20 to someone else. The interesting thing was that on average, when they then sampled the happiness levels, they surveyed the happiness levels of these students who either spent the $20 and bought themselves something, or they gave someone else the $20. On average, the students that gave the $20 to someone else were actually happier with themselves. So please, if you are given the opportunity to go out and do something kind for someone, to do some sort of nice gesture for someone, as long as it is not sacrificing your health in some major way, then do it. Because not only will you feel better about yourself for going out and doing something to make the world a better place, but also the pleasure that that person is experiencing is so much greater than the pleasure they would have experienced if it was something they were expecting. They weren't expecting you to go out and do something nice for them because that's not a common thing for most people. Most people, when they walk around, they don't just get compliments all the time. So when you have that surprise factor, that novelty, that amplifies the pleasure even more. And looking back on my life, I can remember compliments that I've received or nice little things that people have done for me. Even if it wasn't some monumental, incredible thing that someone did for me. Just those little things, they stay with you because you aren't expecting them. And the fact that you aren't expecting them, the fact that it surprises you makes it so much better. So that's my second tip. My third tip for maximizing happiness is to increase the amount of little non-demanding social interactions you get throughout the day. Now, obviously, forming relationships is important to our happiness. We have to socialize on a deeper level, whether it be talking with a friend or having a conversation with someone we're romantically interested in. We have to do those things to maximize our happiness. You can't have no friends and be living your best life possible. Everyone knows that. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that you can get some, not all, but some of those benefits of socialization by simply having small, non-demanding interactions with people throughout your day. And this could be something as simple as saying thank you to your barista when you get coffee in the morning, or saying have a good day to your teacher or your boss. And there are studies to back this up that show, for example, saying thank you to your barista when you get coffee in the morning, or saying have a good day to your boss. People who do those little things, people who make those small social interactions are, on average, happier than people who say nothing. And when you take those things away, you tell people not to do those things, their happiness goes down. And this is a very actionable way to increase your happiness. Even if you're introverted, like me, I'm introverted, believe it or not. All you have to do is make just a little bit more out of your day-to-day social interactions. And when you do this, your brain starts to go, hey, maybe I am appreciated. Maybe people do care about me. Maybe people do like me because I'm being nice to this person on the bus, or I'm saying hello to my barista, or I'm telling my teacher or my boss to have a good day. And they're doing all those things back to me. In most cases, they're being friendly back to me. And so just making that one small tweak in your day-to-day interactions can actually change your perspective and help you become a little more optimistic. And with those 3 tips, I hope you learned something useful today. There were a lot of things in today's video that I didn't get to talk about due to time constraints. So if you want me to brush on the topic of whether happiness really is the most important thing in our lives, then let me know, because I'd love to make a follow-up video on that. Anyways, have a good day.